What's happening, guys and girls? Acrinator here, and welcome to another episode of Counting Pixelated Sheep. I am joined by my partner in crime and co-host for this podcast, Sirjohnmac.
No, I already did that gag. Hey!
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's getting old now. Anyways, we have 4 new articles for you today, one of which Sirjohnmac actually came up with. This is a first. I am proud of him. Anyways, the order of which will be as follows. Mnectar looks to turn mobile ads into streamed games with Spectra. Rise of the Tomb Raider sells faster on PC than on Xbone. Game dev irritated over Nintendo's attitude over the NX, and Forza Motorsport 6 coming to PC as free-to-play. So with that being said, let's get straight into the first article, which is the Mnectar Spectra thing. So this is not the article that Sirjohnmac came up with. I will let him take over when he does, which is actually the last article. But for now, the Spectra thing. So basically, this company, Mnectar, is creating this new streaming network thing called Spectra that basically takes demos of different games and allowing you to play these demos instead of just viewing a normal ad for that game. I'm sure anyone out there who plays any sort of mobile game, like, God, I don't know, like Clash of Clans, Quiz Up, those are the only 2 I play, Candy Crush, help me, John, Angry Birds. Is that still relevant? Yeah. Basically, ads will pop up, and usually you have to wait like 15 or so seconds to click the little stupid X button because you don't give a shit about Panda Pop, which is the example that Mnectar uses for this like demonstration of this. Basically, instead of viewing an ad for like Panda Pop, you would get to play a demo of it, which I believe is just like a level or 2 maybe. And while it would be longer than the traditional ad, it would still keep you busy, and it would get you to test the game before allowing to buy it. And that's sort of like the best way to advertise, I think, personally, is prove that you have the better product, or prove that you have something worth getting and using. So, do you have anything to say, John?
I feel like if this isn't overused, and if it's I guess just like if it's a fun game, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, actually I didn't think of the overused thing, but it definitely couldn't happen as much as like the current ads do with like the little pop-ups, because those only take 15 seconds. All those are annoying, hence why I don't usually play mobile games. But like it would almost have to be like, a third, a fourth, a fifth of the time around that to sort of make up for it, because you are potentially putting in a lot of time. Like, supposedly they are going to still have that like little X button to X out of that demo. Like, they're not going to force you to play the demo, imagine. Just,
oh god.
Some troll developer comes up with like an impossible game, like forces you to play the impossible game.
Forces you to play like level 666 of Candy Crush.
Oh my god,
and get through that to continue playing the game that you wanted to. That'd be awful.
My dad just recently hit like level 1000, and he showed me like 1001, and I was like, what the hell? Like, this is, I don't mind puzzles, granted I've never played Candy Crush, nor do I want to, but it's like, like at a certain point, puzzles stop being puzzles and they start being torture. And like, I think at a certain point Candy Crush hits that.
I'll be the hipster here and say Bejeweled is much better.
I don't like Bejeweled to begin with. But if I were going to play a Bejeweled type game, it would be Bejeweled.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. Like, I think it's a good idea that they have like the little X button, so you could just sit there for like 15 seconds like normal and click the little X out and get back to your game. But if if something does pop up that's interesting to you, you could actually play a demo of it and potentially get interested in a game, find a game that you really like. I think Clash of Clans I kind of came across because that was like up and coming when I first got into it, and then the only other game I play on mobile is Quiz Up, which actually you introduced me to, John. The only reason I really got into that is because I had WoW Topic, and that's really the only one I play. And I think this is pretty cool because it allows like the smaller app developers who actually have like good apps. Like, I know there's a big issue with like so many apps out there. There's being carbon copies, like reskinned of, you know, any other game out there. There's a million and one different Clash of Clans thing. There's a million and one different Flappy Bird reskins, you know. But I think like there's a lot of smaller games out there who just are sort of caught in that cycle of not getting that much attention, therefore not having that much attention, so that when people see them, they're like, oh, they're, you know, so small of a game, they can't be any good, otherwise more people would go to them. And there's sort of that mob mentality of just like go to what's popular, and that does work against smaller games that might be good. I don't know. Do you have anything to add?
I would be so much more likely to get a game that I liked if I actually had like a little demo to play of it instead of just like some random ad for it that told me like the name of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably not going to pay any attention to that. If I play like a little demo and it actually seems fun, I might actually download that.
Yeah.
I also hope it's I would almost I'm kind of curious as to what kind of like how much data this actually uses, because it says it's streaming, but that still takes
Yeah. That would be one big issue, is I don't believe it says how much it would actually work with streaming, but like in terms of data, but I believe it did say you'd have to have a stable connection in order to use it. So I think it would possibly be something that you turn on, then after, if this isn't the case, then it probably should be, you know? Where like if you can't get a stable connection for a certain amount of time, it'll just go back to the normal type of ad. But this is a nice alternative to the current form of advertising, because I know for a fact, looking at this Panda Pop thing, I'm pretty sure that like I've seen advertisements for Panda Pop before, but it's like I don't, looking at the pictures even now, I'm not interested in it. It looks like I forget the name of it, but it's like an old like Windows Millennial thing that came out, and it was just like shoot bubbles or something at similarly colored. Snood, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. My God, that game was so good.
Yeah.
That and the one where you got to destroy the screen.
That one level of Snood where it was like all blue faces and like all skulls and really narrow, and you had to get like the most pixel perfect shots.
Yeah, that's sort of what Panda Pop reminds me of.
Yeah.
But, again, like I'd rather just play Snood if that's the case.
Yeah.
But I think one interesting aspect of this... Okay, it's digressing a bit. You need a Wi-Fi or LTE connection to work with Spectra.
Okay.
And then you log in to it. So I think I believe it has some access to your phone as to what games you already have. So if you already have like Clash of Clans, it's not going to give you a Clash of Clans demo, because otherwise that'd be a bit redundant, because you'd just be like, well,
yeah,
or give you an ad for like the game that you're playing. Like, well, this is pointless. Although if it did like keep your save, that'd be a nice workaround. I think one interesting thing would be how this affects the advertising market, because as I've said in the past, I have taken a few like marketing classes way back in high school, and I learned a bit about like successful advertising, mostly because like us students got into groups with like friends, and it was just me and one other friend, and we advertised different things. We had like t-shirts for school events and stuff like that, and we would try and sell them, and my friend and I would actually come out on top like every single time, just because we came up with the dumbest ways to advertise, but it worked. It was really funny. Like one example, and I know I'm digressing, but this is like to prove a point of like different forms of advertising can be useful, is that we were trying to sell posters. We're trying to sell t-shirts, and on the very top of the poster in big red, like bold, italic, like underlined font, I'm not supposed to be telling you this, but, and then it went into t-shirts on sale for $10, and it had nothing to do with like we weren't supposed to be telling people that. It's just like buzzwords basically that got people looking like I'm not supposed to be telling you, and all of a sudden they're paying attention. And I think like a demo like this definitely is more valuable in terms of someone trying to pay for advertising to like an advertising firm, who puts that sort of stuff out there to a company like M Nectar. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce it, but that's the only way. I'm not going to try and pronounce it some stupid way like nectar. So, I think like if this Spectre app is successful, Nectar could see a lot of revenue coming in, because this is definitely a form of advertising that could potentially, depending on the analytics for the first, demo or whatever trial run of Spectra, if it would lead to more game sales, or at least like longer standing ads, people sit there for longer with the ad up, that actually does work to give the advertising company more money in the long run, because then they can charge more for it, because they can show these precedent analytics and say like, oh, this is what we can average, what we can guarantee on average. And that does equate to quite a bit of value in terms of advertising, if you can guarantee that people are going to look and actually listen to the advertisements rather than just pass them by. I think that's really important. Look at Super Bowl ads. I watch the Super Bowl not for the football. I don't give a shit about football. It's because of the ads. This year I didn't even watch the Super Bowl. I just found like a YouTube playlist with all of the Super Bowl ads, and a lot of them were really funny, and that's the way to get people's attention, I've found, through personal experience and through just like watching the ads that I actually pay attention to.
Puppy monkey baby.
She thought it was funny. So that's really all I have for this. I think like it's a very interesting thing for advertising, especially because it relates to gaming. But do you have anything else to say?
I think I've said my part.
Yeah, okay, so we can move on to the next article, which is the Rise of the Tomb Raider actually sold about triple in the first month of being sold on PC compared to the first month that it was sold on Xbox One, which is pretty crazy. Like, that's triple. Like, I can't find the exact numbers, but fucking tripled it. Performed, let's see. Microsoft said that Rise of the Tomb Raider performed strongly on Xbox One, selling well over 1 million copies, and that is only 33% of what it has sold on the PC, which is absolutely insane. Like, that is a huge demographic, and I think that really shows that Microsoft should stop, and like really everyone, but Microsoft in particular in this case, really stop at the stupid, exclusive deals. Get this,
timed
early.
Exclusives.
I hate those, especially because I right now actually just started the Tomb Raider 2013, and I don't own Rise of the Tomb Raider. I'm going to wait for it to drop in price. Usually around $10-15 is where I buy most of my games, or lower, obviously, and I'll wait for that to happen. But like, definitely Rise of the Tomb Raider is something that I am definitely going to get someday, because I love Tomb Raider 2013, otherwise I wouldn't be Let's Playing it. I'm not that masochistic. But I think like a lot of developers just see the money signs and don't think of like how they're losing respect when they do these sort of exclusive deals. Like, I remember a lot of people were pretty mad when Rise of the Tomb Raider was going on sales for Xbox One like a month or two earlier than anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I think like this is just the ultimate retribution. Not trying to go like full PC master race here. Obviously, I am a PC user. The last console I got was a Wii, for fuck's sake. But like, it does. You can't really argue with the numbers. Triple the people, just about, probably more so now, have bought this thing on PC than on Xbox One. That's insane. And there's really no other word I can use for it. That's why I keep saying insane.
Yeah, like, even if timed exclusives are really crappy, this gives us a really good bit of data.
Yeah, I don't think Microsoft is dumb enough to ignore that. Because not only is this data, but this is data with hard cash.
Oh yeah. And they're all about that.
Yeah, they like percentages. in the 30s. You know, that's anything above like 25% when you're talking about like money and economics. That's pretty significant. So something getting like 33%, an entire third compared to the PC sales is like a huge number. And I can't find exact numbers. It actually said in this article, at least at the time of this article, that Microsoft wasn't divulging any exact numbers, but it was actually Square Enix who posted their sale figures.
Did we mention, by the way, that the Xbox One version released on the same day as Fallout 4? Like one of the most anticipated games of the year?
Yeah. I always hated that. Like, leading up to that release date, I don't remember what I know it was November sometime, because like whenever there was an article on Rise of the Tomb Raider, and that was a game that I care about, and I don't fucking care about Fallout. You know, I like the Elder Scrolls, but that's because of like the style and the aesthetic. I don't want to play futuristic Elder Scrolls. You know, Skyrim is basically medieval Fallout, and Fallout is fucking
Skyrim with guns.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. You know, I'd rather play Elder Scrolls, so I don't bother with the Fallout titles. So on almost every Tomb Raider related article for like the 2 months leading up to that date, almost every comment was literally just Fallout 4. Wasn't even like Fallout 4 is better, can't wait for Fallout 4 more, you know, it was just Fallout 4, and that was just like the ultimate troll for a while, and it's like, really? Like, this is wasting my time. You know, I clicked on the comment section to read possible comments of like updates and stuff, and it's just Fallout 4, Fallout 4, Fallout 4. So that was really annoying when it actually happened. And it definitely says like there's Super Data, which I'm assuming is some sort of analytics company, said that the estimated sales for the Xbox One were soft due to the same day launch of Fallout 4. Did Fallout 4 release the PC and Xbox versions at the same day?
No, the PC version was released quite a while later.
Again, I don't play, so I didn't really care.
Xbox version was November. PC version was January this year, and they haven't even released a PS4 version yet. Timed exclusives aren't that great.
Yeah. Speaking of which, did Tomb Raider come out on the PlayStation? No, it hasn't yet. It's coming out later this year.
The 2013?
No, Rise.
Oh, Rise.
Rise of the Tomb Raider release on another platform, Sony's PlayStation 4, later this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, and it's funny that I'm saying this because just wait, 2 articles from now, be returning to this, that Microsoft especially, but like all game companies, need to take all markets more seriously. Not just PC, obviously that one hits home for myself and John included, but like really all platforms. I would be less affected and care a little bit less if it was the other way around, where it came to PC first and then consoles later. But the only justification I can see for this sort of thing is not for exclusives, but like if the devs are having trouble with the port, that's different. That's like, we need this time to make the game ready. But it's not, the game's ready, it's just sitting there waiting to be released. So I think they need to stop with the stupid exclusives and just like release the game at the same time, and you're intentionally cutting your profits for a short period of time. Possibly for like forever, really, because then people might just be pissed, and be like, well, fuck this game, I don't want to play it anyways.
Yeah,
if it's something that they're not so passionate about, then the developers might not be so lucky with taking these sort of things. Plus, it creates a bad public image, and despite what people think, there is in fact bad PR. Just like Nintendo or whatever. God damn, we're doing a lot of segues into.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's really all I have for this article. Got anything else to take? John?
I would. Excuse me? I would kind of like to point out, somewhat related, Fallout 4 director Todd Howard recently said the game's day one digital sales were stronger than at physical retail, which That's kind of cool. If we can do away with physical sales, kind of kill off GameStop, I'd be fine with that.
I don't know. I've definitely. I think they'll wane, but I don't think physical copies will ever go away. It's the same thing with books, although books are a bit more relevant because people like to have the physical copy. You know, I have physical copies of like all the books I really ever bothered to get. You know, mostly Warcraft novels, but I do have other books from way back in the day, from like high school and stuff. And there's just a certain majesty, at least with books, being able to like flip an actual page and whatnot, not having to worry about a battery life, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And with game physical copies, it's really that security because, say, Steam just disappeared tomorrow. Like, you know, I'd be fucked out of like 70-ish games, 60-something games. So it's scary to think about, but we just have to like sort of trust. On top of that, we have to trust that like if and when a larger competitor ever comes around and Steam has to go by the wayside because they're, you know, going out of business, that new platform can guarantee that that the games that we got on Steam are not lost forever. You know, have some sort of conversion, which
Right.
you know, you'd have to pray that Valve didn't throw a hissy fit and was like, no, fuck you, you're losing your games. You know, it's like, it's not necessarily right to put all your eggs in a basket, and I myself and, you know, a lot of other people out there realize that, but I think when Steam holds, and let's be honest here, an effective monopoly on the PC gaming market, it's hard to not, because there's nothing else out there. There's Origin, kind of, and you know,
GOG, Greenman Gaming, and the other one that I can't think of the name of, Gamerskate. Those are all good, but not nearly as hot.
yeah, it's like if you could honestly just get most of those games on Steam anyway. And while it is irresponsible to just, as a consumer, to just like throw everything you've got onto Steam or whatever, it's still like, like if they're, you know, it's common sense to just go with whatever's better. So
You buy a game from, or a bundle from Humble Bundle, what do you get? Steam keys.
yeah,
Maybe Ubisoft or Origin keys sometimes if it's that developer exclusively. But
Yeah,
in
like,
general, Steam.
I could, and this is diverging completely off of topic, but who gives a fuck? Because this is interesting. I think like the physical game stores will go away, but I think services like GameFly and the online stuff that distribute the physical copies, I don't think those will go away because they need little to nothing to actually distribute.
Yeah, Amazon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh man, imagine if you can just like get your get like in the future when games are like gigantic, like 100 gigabyte. I mean,
God.
GTA is already like 60.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, GTA is like 65 or something like that gigabytes.
Well, then again, it is. I've seen enough of that game to.
Yeah, but like Amazon Air. Perfect example of very high bandwidth with very high latency as well. Takes like 15 minutes for the data to get here, but it's all right there.
Yeah.
Weird analogy, but
Is that all you got for?
yeah, I think it does.
Honestly, I don't mind diverging because it's like basically every other podcast in the world doesn't have any topics to begin with.
Yeah.
So, on to the third article, which is the game dev is mad at Nintendo. Specifically, a game dev for Ori and the Blind Forest, Thomas Mahler. Sorry if I butchered that name. He's the director for Ori and the Blind Forest. He expressed his frustration with Nintendo because Nintendo is being very secretive about the NX, specifically the specs and whatnot. And basically, his statement was, what was it?
I like his quote. Yeah.
He has quite a few, but it's like, this is actually the single most annoying thing for every dev out there. We talked to Nintendo and got absolutely nothing. I'll never understand that. And just to be clear, it's not Nintendo. Every hardware manufacturer is treating their dev kits and their unreleased consoles like they're the second coming and are insanely secretive about it to a stupid degree in today's time. It's not even that the hardware isn't finished, duh, but you could at least give me the goddamn specs so we'd know what to build shit for.
Yeah.
And, you know, taking like the profanity and the passion aside, like looking at what he's saying is pretty common sense, you'd think. Like, of all the people you'd want to be open with about the specs of your system, it's the game devs, because like consoles sell better in today's market when they have exclusives or just games, like good games.
Yeah, launch
titles. On launch. You know, I think like the Wii U had like, what did it have? It had Smash Bros, which came out relatively close to that time.
Smash Bros, which was first party.
Bayonetta 2,
which was
first party. Oh yeah. Well, we'll get to the third party shit later, but like, you know, just in terms of like having titles, you know, they need to be open. And now we can go to the third party stuff, and it's like not just the quality of the titles, but the quantity. Like, people loved the titles for the Wii U. I never heard anything bad about like the first few, you know, titles for the Wii U. It's just that they were all exclusive. You know, it's like, well, that's not a bad thing. It could have been so much more. You know, I feel I can understand their frustration, especially when you have someone like the director of fucking Ori and the Blind Forest. Like,
yeah,
I love Ori and the Blind Forest. I finished that game in like 10 hours or so on my first run through. I've done like 2.5 more run throughs. I've tried to do a completionist run through. I'm probably gonna have start up another run through just to get footage for this podcast that you'll probably be seeing above right about this point. Just because it's really, really fun game. Like, diverging a bit, Ori really did well on defining the line between a challenge, a fair challenge, and being stupidly difficult.
Yeah, like Ori almost feels like a Nintendo game. Kind of the closest you can get with
Yeah. Honestly, my only complaint about Ori was that it doesn't seem to like NVIDIA drivers, like, whatsoever. So I would have to have it in the smallest resolution to get a decent FPS, which is kind of annoying, but it still played fine once I had it in that. It's not like there's really much that you have to like squint your eyes and get close up to the screen for. You know, you can sort of tell what's happening, even on the tiny little, you know, 800 by 600 or whatever. But I'd still like it to not have those problems with NVIDIA. But whatever. It's still honestly a really good game, and I think it is like damn near close to my top 10. I have the list somewhere, but so I think like with a game that was so massively successful and subjectively so good, you know,
yeah,
Nintendo should really take heed to these words. You know, when it's like games media and the players, okay, yeah, you can sort of like withhold your statements about like, oh, it's gonna run games at this resolution for this FPS. Better damn well be 60 if it wants to get anywhere. And you know, I can see being secretive to certain people, but not to the game devs. Like, that's a very important business partner, and if Nintendo learned anything from the Wii U, they really need to get third-party support in there.
It kind of implies that they don't trust them.
Yeah, and that's sort of... They don't trust anyone.
Yeah,
like,
true.
They don't trust YouTubers, they don't trust, like, just anyone.
No, they trust YouTubers to give Nintendo money. They're fine with that. That's pretty much it, though.
Yeah. Not even that, because the videos that you want to get through that network, they have to be screened by Nintendo, so they don't even trust the...
Yeah, that's a good point. They don't trust YouTubers to make them money.
Yeah.
Like,
it's free money. Like, that's a discussion for a whole other time, but basically the way I see it is like video games, especially ones with less like direct linear, like there's only one way to play this, it feels more like you're using a tool than... It's different than like reading a book, you know, because there's only one beginning and one end. You know, if you were to read a book out loud on YouTube, I think, like, without the publisher or author's permission, I could certainly see there'd be a big problem there. But I think like the thing with Let's Players is like they can play pretty much any game and get that audience. You know, people don't go to fucking PewDiePie to watch, you know, Happy Wheels, I think he plays, I don't know. You know, they don't go to watch like, oh, this new indie game. No, they're going to watch PewDiePie.
Yeah.
And it's like the games are that tool. I remember when Nintendo started this whole partnership thing with YouTube, he actually said there's a million games out there to play, and Nintendo just jumped to the bottom of the list. And it's so true. It's like I think given maybe a few decades from now, who knows? But I think at a certain point, people will sort of realize that, because the fans will follow wherever the Let's Player goes, you know, even though I try to separate my channel more recently from Let's Plays and try to do the more informational stuff. I still do Let's Plays, and I would hope that, you know, people don't watch for the game specifically. Maybe they get drawn in at first from the game, like, oh, someone's playing Path of Exile, let's go watch that. You know, and then they see, like, you know, you and I, John, playing Path of Exile, and they're like, oh, cool, and they become fans of us, not the game.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a big digression, but let's go ahead, say anything you want.
I'd also like to point out that Nintendo is, even if you are just taking a shot in the dark and trying to develop for their console, just like without knowing exactly what the specs are, that's way harder for Nintendo than any other console, because at least, like, Xbox and PlayStation, you know, well, there's going to be one screen, there's going to be a controller,
Yeah.
usually there's going to be, actually, yeah, all the time there's going to be 2 sticks, D-pad,
Yeah.
A, B, X, Y, or whatever PS4 is.
And especially if, like, the leaked specs or whatever on the NX, where, like, it looks like the controller is like a giant fucking like oval touchscreen with like 2 joysticks. Like the control layout is the same as usual controllers, but it has like the touchscreen that's like the entire thing besides the buttons and the joysticks. And you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, how do we develop for this?
Nintendo, you have no idea.
Especially,
is there one screen? Are there 2? Are there more? What buttons do I have? What buttons do I have to work with? Do I have a D-pad and a 1 and a 2 button?
fucking bringing back like the Z button from the N64.
Yeah, do I have 1 controller? Do I have 2 that I wave around like this? Do I have a 3rd that I put on my head? What do I have?
Especially, even further, with so much speculation about the NX going around, like with the speculation of the controller being the next handheld, so that the NX itself is going to be a handheld as well as a traditional console. Like, how do you develop for that?
Yeah,
If you don't know the specs.
you have to develop for 2 consoles. That's beautiful.
Yeah, with 2 completely different power levels. You know?
Yeah, like, it is so impossible.
That's like playing pin the tail on the donkey, except you give the person a dart and they're not allowed to move. They have to throw the dart, and just like hoping that you don't hit someone in the eye. You know?
That's like playing pin the tail on the donkey. You have a blindfold put on. You're dumped in the middle of the ocean. You don't even have the pin. You don't know where the donkey is. You have to find all this blindfolded. You might even not have a donkey.
For all you know, it's a fucking basking shark.
Yeah. Maybe the donkey is also trying to pin the tail on you as well. You don't know what's going on.
The donkey could be 2 blocks over with a sniper rifle for. Where is this conversation headed?
I don't know, but I like it.
Good places. That's for damn sure. I don't know, like, I honestly have never heard of another company being this closed, or at least like a game dev complaining about it, you know, and bringing it to like the light of the public. For all I know, it could have happened before, probably with Nintendo. But like, I've never heard of a dev being so adamant about, like, stop fucking with us, just give us the specs, we want to work with you, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, and I can imagine it's frustrating, because, you know, Ori in the Blind Forest, I think you said before, I forget if you said it on camera or not, like, Ori feels like a Nintendo game,
Yeah.
you know? It's not. It's actually a published by Microsoft Studios.
Mm.
So if anything, it would be on the Xbox, and I think it is on the Xbox. I don't know. I have it on PC. It's all I care about. But
I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
yeah, but like, there's correct ways to do this and wrong ways to do this, and being as secretive as they are to just any other dev that's not, you know, the Pokemon company, and like whatever specific branch of Nintendo is, like Mario and Bayonetta and Super Smash Bros. And all that. They need to like actually reach out and be like, look, we're willing to work with you. You know, they have to make it worth the devs' while to actually develop for it. Otherwise, there are other platforms, there are other choices. You know, Nintendo, once again, just jumped to the bottom of the list if they're not willing to open up.
Yeah, Nintendo is so awful about third-party developers. Like, you can't even... like,
just can't.
half of your development, like, effort is just figuring out how to conquer the problems of whatever given Nintendo console it is. Like,
first you have to figure out the drugs that they are on, then you have to find the drugs they were on, then you have to do the drugs they were on, just to develop the goddamn game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, like, it's like the worst possible scenario for the worst possible console developer, because Nintendo is always so outlandish, and that's not speaking against Nintendo. I usually appreciate that about them. You know, Nintendo's, out of Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, I choose Nintendo above them all. And that's really the funny thing, is like Nintendo's so bad at certain things, blatantly so, and people still love them to death.
Yep, they have a lot of goodwill built up.
Yeah, and it's like they don't usually maliciously ruin that, you know. It's usually innocent mistakes, more or less. I don't know.
Oh, Nintendo.
Yeah, it's just like, who knows what it is, whether it is goodwill or if it's just like, oh, you know, they're so innovative, they're just childish, you know, they'll be Nintendo.
I will say that Nintendo consoles are pretty much the only thing that is actually, like, they have the only games that kind of need to be on a console, because like, they can't just be emulated on a PC.
Yeah, like, it's not the same, really, with a lot of them.
Yeah. Like, any Halo, Forza, Uncharted, all of those could be ported over to the PC, and if they were ported well, they'd be fine.
Yeah.
But a lot of Nintendo games would just not translate.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, like, trying to play fucking Mario Party on
Oh
PC.
god.
I don't even, like, I could see how it would work, but I think it would be clumsier. Like, those kinds of games, a lot of the Nintendo games are like couch games, you know?
Yeah.
It's not only the mentality, but like the way they're built. You just don't need a PC for it. You know, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like the mentality, and then a bit of like the level design, and just something about it just sort of deserves to be on a console. This is coming from someone who, like, the last what consoles have I owned? Not counting like handhelds, because I've only ever owned like Game Boys and one PSP. I had an N64. I had what did I have? GameCube, and I had a Wii. That was it. Of like the consoles that I personally owned. I also, my siblings also had like a PS2, a PS1, and a Dreamcast. God, Dreamcast. Good times. All I ever played in that was Sonic Adventure, which I now have on Steam. But yeah, I don't really have anything more to say. Like, I think it's been beaten into the ground. If you have anything else.
Yeah, same.
So, we can get into the final article, which is Forza Motorsport 6 is coming to PC. And John, I'll let you take this one and sort of describe, and then I'll jump in if you need my help.
Okay, so for those who haven't heard, they are actually porting a version of Forza Motorsport 6 to the PC. I believe it's Windows 10 only, unfortunately, but I guess take what you can get. It is not the full thing. It is not the full Forza Motorsport 6 experience.
Shut up, advertisement. Sorry. Go ahead.
It is called Forza Motorsport 6 Apex, and despite being called Apex, it's actually cut down quite a bit. And by quite a bit, it has 12 themed racing events and more than 60 cars, so probably 61 cars. And it does not, at least at launch, I don't know if they're like going to put this in, but it does not have multiplayer, which is a big thing for a lot of people. But it's kind of interesting just because maybe Microsoft is actually going to start supporting, you know, their operating system with some games. Maybe?
Yeah.
Can we have that? I mean, it's not like Halo, but
it's a start.
Forza was one of my favorite games on Forza 4 and Forza Horizon 1, actually. Were some of my favorite games on my old 360. And I was kind of sad that, like, no support on PC. They're just, like, completely Xbox exclusive. And maybe Forza 7, maybe Forza Horizon 3, I think, will actually be launched on the PC as well as the Xbone.
You can only hope. Now, I'm not one for Forza very much. I'm not one for really very many racing games. I think like Drive Any Track is really the only one that I consistently play, and that's more of a music racer. But yeah, actually, I didn't even think of the multiplayer. Now that I look at the article, I don't believe it says anything about multiplayer whatsoever. It doesn't even say that it's coming later. One interesting thing I saw was that it's going to be free to play, and it's going to have like microtransactions later, which that could be very sketchy.
Well, Forza games already have had microtransactions, and those aren't free to play, so part for the course.
Yeah, like I said, I never really played Forza too much. Another interesting thing, though, is that where to go? There was something in here that said like the currency for in-game will transfer over on the account from Xbox One to PC. So I think you can... Or wait, what? No, sorry, it will not carry over Apex.
Oh.
They also have this term, drivatars. I assume it's some sort of avatar. I don't really know what that means. Any enlightenment, John?
The drivatar system, I remember reading about this, but not really paying too much attention since it was on Forza 5, and I don't pay attention to games that I can't play, generally. But supposedly it is... Well, I can just take Microsoft's word. We suggest you think of the drivatar as a clone of yourself. It is a replicant, a driving avatar made to your very own recipe. You teach it to drive like you do, and you can keep on training it until it reaches the dizzy heights of perfection. So basically, it's an AI that tries to take after you. I don't know if that's just...
So you're playing like race car manager simulator, effectively, or like you're not allowed to drive your own car. You just like yell into the microphone, "Turn left!" What?
The way I heard it explained was that, like, basically, or the way that I remember it when it first came out was basically it tries to take like your tactics and try to use that for a AI that plays for you while you're offline, like while you're not playing.
That's interesting. So you can still get like some in-game currency or something while you're offline, but obviously less so than if you're like online, probably doing quests of some sort.
Right.
That's interesting. I think at a certain point you just become so overpowered that it's like you never need to log on again except for like once a year, and you're like, well, I have everything now.
Yeah.
RIP. I can imagine that gets really old if there's no multiplayer.
True.
And with you saying, like, now that you say it, you know, I can't find anything in this very short article about multiplayer. It doesn't even mention it. The only thing they said, like, the dev didn't mention at the time was something about what exactly is going to come up with paid expansions, and they said they hinted at cars, but that was like it. They didn't say like anything in terms of like coming with multiplayer, game types, etc., etc.
Also, for anyone that has a driving wheel, those are not supported.
We're in the 90s.
Yeah.
You're not supported on launch? What the hell?
Yeah, seriously, a driving game that you can't use your driving wheel for like however long until they actually put it in.
I remember my uncle for his PlayStation 2 used to have like all the peripheries, and that was one of them. And it was so fun. Except I'd play like the fucking Looney Tunes Space Jam Racing on the PS2. It was so much fun though. I was like 3. Such a interesting game, and it's actually funny. Sort of digressing a bit, but like we were talking so much earlier about Nintendo as well as Microsoft, like needing to take the PC market and like other developers seriously, and this is sort of example of Microsoft taking PC seriously. Like they're actually porting a game over, albeit a very limited version, but it's still a start, because if this is successful, they'll potentially look at it and be like, oh, we should put more effort into this, albeit it's on Windows 10, and I have not heard good things for Windows 10. I technically have the free update, but I've been sticking with my Windows 7. Thank you very much.
I'm still using Windows 10, and it's kind of annoying sometimes, but once you break it, then it's fine.
From what I've heard, at least about Windows 10, is like it's not as good as 7, but not as bad as 8. Is that about right?
I'd say that. I'd say it's almost like a midpoint between 8 and 8.1.
I don't know the difference. I never used 8 at all.
8 was bad.
Yeah, I know that much. Taking away the fucking start button, like, why?
Yeah, they brought that back in Windows 10.
Oh, they did. I thought they
Yeah.
didn't. That's actually cool, though, that they did. Okay.
Yeah.
They earned a bit more of my respect. I'm still not going to download it, but I'm just going to keep the fucking free download until the point where, like, something happens on my computer where it's like, okay, you cannot function unless you update, and I'm like, fine. But, yeah. I think it is pretty cool to see that they are bringing something to PC, because you know damn well it was either this or nothing.
Yeah. Like, they weren't going to start with Halo. Like, that's just a fact.
I've heard so many people, not just on YouTube, but like my brother-in-law, who's a big Halo fan and like a big Destiny fan. He actually had, back in the Halo 2 days, I believe Halo 2, it might have been early Halo 3, him and his uncle and cousin were on a MLG team. In an unofficial match, they actually beat the Ogre 1, Ogre 2 team. It was pretty funny, because I was in the room watching, and it was pretty close, but they were really good. And I don't think the Ogre guys were taking it seriously. Again, it was an unofficial, unranked match. Just was like, yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, but like, I know my brother-in-law complained about Halo 5 not being on the PC. Especially because didn't like Halo 2 just recently come to the PC?
Halo 2 came to the PC, I think, around the time that Halo 3 came out.
Wasn't it one of the Halos that came out on the PC recently?
Halo 2 came out on, I think it was like Vista exclusive. Like, that's how long ago it was. And
what Halo was it that just like recently came out? Was it Halo 4 that came out on PC?
Yeah, couldn't have.
I don't think so. Was it Master Chief Collection? I don't know. Oh, you know what it was? They re-released and like re-updated and had new servers for Halo 2 on the PC. I remember that because my brother-in-law was playing that for a while. I was like, is that Halo? Yeah, which one? 2. What? Like, isn't that game old? And it had like really modern graphics. It was pretty cool. Granted, I don't think he plays it anymore. Move on to Destiny, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. This is, like I said before, I don't play Forza, so I don't have too much emotional attachment to this. But it is cool to see that they're at least making an effort.
Yeah.
They're supposedly putting in the effort. Although, as far as we know, they're just like, yeah, fuck, this'll like this manages to work on Windows 10. Just port it.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the absolute bare minimum.
Yeah,
a cut down version of
definitely bare bones.
yeah, of a racing game. This isn't so much like dipping a foot in the water, it's just like a pinky toe.
This actually feels like, at least from like what you can do, it sounds more like they could port it to mobile and it be more successful.
Oh god.
Like one of those fucking drag racing games. I used to play that a lot back in the old days. Meaning, like, you know, when I got my first fucking Android, like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's what Microsoft should do. They should have Forza on
The
their
Windows
Xbox,
phones.
of course. Yeah, port it to Windows Phone, port it to Surface or whatever that thing is. Port
Yeah.
it to anything that has Microsoft's name on it, except for their PC. You
Yeah.
know, the most powerful machines that you can get.
I mean, it only makes sense. In inferiority, we rise. I don't know. That's pretty much all I have. Like, this is definitely very interesting, and it is once again nice to see Microsoft making some level of a move in that direction. Possibly the next one, fingers crossed, would be bigger. Maybe a full game. But it's a decent start. Not saying you have to be happy with it. Not saying you have to love it. Just saying it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Although this is certainly not exempt from criticism because of the quote goodwill that's being brought our way. Nothing is exempt from criticism. So I'm sure I'll hear plenty of it if John bothers, I should say, to get this.
Oh, I definitely will. I don't
don't want to miss out on this.
I don't have any intention of having Windows 10 on my computer and not having Forza on it.
Oh yeah, you do. You said you had Windows 10, right? I keep forgetting you have your desktop now, not your laptop.
Yeah. It's a good time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, I have to do something with this 980 Ti, right?
Show off.
Yeah, look at the port so bad it runs at like minimum settings. 800 by 600.
Yeah. Well, that's really all I have. Do you have anything else to say?
No, that's it.
So here comes the outro where I fuck it up for some reason. Oh god, I gotta cover up OBS so he doesn't stare at me. So be sure to leave your comments in the comment section below if you have anything to say about any of the topics we discussed during this video. However, all comments must follow two simple and easy guidelines. They must be respectful and insightful. Any comments that do not follow these guidelines will not show up on the video. Be sure to follow me on Instagram for the latest updates on when I'll be uploading YouTube videos, as well as when I'll be streaming on Twitch and other random posts. Be sure to check out my partner in crime, Sirjohnmac's channel. He posts something every now and then, and it's usually pretty entertaining, whatever it is. Got anything else to say, John?
Nope.
So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more like it, maybe even subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And that's all the time we've got for today. So until next time, don't die.